All righty, guys. Welcome back to iCoach Nutrition Radio. Today, I have two special guests with me, clients of mine that I have the pleasure of working with for 6 months. They graduated from iCoach University, and I'm following up with them here a few months later, and they're still crushing it. So all is good. But I'm excited to bring them on to be able to kind of share their journey of the last 6 months of us working together there. And really just be able to kind of share their wins and share their takeaways. And hopefully for the listeners here, y'all be able to get a lot out of hearing their story and be inspired by it. So without further ado, Patrick, Sharon, what's going on? How are you, my friends?
Good. Doing great. Good to see you again, Justin.
Yeah.
Good to see y'all as well. Good to see y'all as well. So for the listeners here, kind of give them a little bit of background in terms of like why y'all reached out to me in the first place, like kind of what was going on in the process there, in terms of y'all's life and where y'all are at with your nutrition and fitness before we got going.
Well, we were kind of tired of being overweight, and we had tried, what we thought we were eating healthy, and once we met with you, we figured out we really weren't eating as healthy as we thought we were.
Yeah.
But we just couldn't seem to lose the weight. It just wasn't going away no matter what we did. We were walking, and we were, eating what we thought was healthy, and it just wasn't making an impact, and we were just frustrated. So we were looking for a way to get healthier and to, take some pounds off and just to feel better.
And we had tried to, skip meals. We tried sharing meals whenever we would go out. Our schedules tend to overlap a lot, and we're on the road a bit. So we tended to be eating out quite a bit. So we tried to, order salads and different things, but nothing was really working. And I kept ballooning up in weight, and there was no end. And actually we found out about you from one of our doctors.
Yeah.
Who'd been with you for a couple of years. And I think she had the opposite problem. She wasn't eating enough, right? Yeah. But she told us about you, and we finally bit the bullet and said, okay, well, everything we've tried isn't working. So let's see if we can figure something else out.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was awesome to be able to have that connection, obviously working with Deanna there and having that, I think like it's really where so many people come to me with, right? Like there's a million different, it's 2021, 2022, right? There's a million different people saying a million different things still to this day. And it's been that way since I can ever remember when it comes to nutrition and fitness and supplements and all of this stuff. And so a lot of people are confused, right? Rightfully so. And so a lot of this is really trying to kind of filter out the BS, if you will, and start to, get the education and develop the skill set and ultimately like increase y'all's confidence in that what you're doing, what you're supposed to be doing. So where it's just a matter of like, do or do not, right? Like it's still hard to stay consistent with living a healthy lifestyle for the rest of your life, but at least now like, what to do, right? You have the tools to help you to continue to be successful there. And you're proving that. I mean, months after you've graduated the program there. So maybe we just go through kind of individually here, like what were some of the wins that you had over the course of that 6 months? And also, what were some of those things that you felt were, struggles, like when you first started that you were really able to overcome, or maybe there's still struggles now that you're still working to overcome?
Well, one of the things was, we'd never done the whole scale thing, like weighing your food and weighing ourselves. And for me, the weighing myself was very frustrating, and we had a big deal with that. And I never did go out and blow my my old one up, but we got rid of it and got a new one. So
yeah, for the listeners out there, if you ever have an issue with the scale, take that thing out to some field with a gun range or whatever there and blow that thing up, and it will be the most freeing thing. I've actually had clients do that, and I mean, it really is like one of the most freeing things you could possibly do. So anyways, sorry, I digress.
That's okay. But the whole weighing your food, that really helped us to see portions and how much, and the calorie count was real important too, because before we weren't really looking at that. We were going to Chili's and eating a salad and halving the salad and thinking that we were eating healthy, but it was really like over 1,000 calories just for that one salad. And we hadn't really been looking at that kind of thing. So I think one of the big wins was learning how much things, cost as far as calorie count goes. That was a big win and a big eye opener for both of us, I think, because we, before we thought we weren't eating that much over what we should be eating. And that really helped us to see, kind of opened our eyes, and the whole iCoach plate, before we thought if we had a little bit of green and a little bit of meat and a little bit of, carbs, that we were doing good. But to really focus on making sure that all of those were equal or close to it was a big eye opener and win for us as well. I think that really changed the way we look at the way we eat now, especially all the fruits and vegetables too. I mean, it changed the way we buy our groceries too, because now we shop a whole lot more in the produce department than we do in all the rest of it.
Well, I love that. Yeah, I mean, I think that, it's definitely one of those things where like it's almost like finances in a sense, right? You mentioned kind of like a calorie budget, if you will, right? Like starting to really understand how many calories are actually in the foods that you're eating. Once you kind of understand that equation as to like, hey, if I want to lose weight, eating in a calorie deficit, right? Yes, there's a million other things that kind of go into this and influence this as well, but ultimately you've got to understand how many calories you're eating, and you've got to create a calorie deficit and stick to that if you want to lose weight, right? You do that for a period of time, and then you bring those calories back to maintenance calories so that you can maintain that weight there. So, but it's something that a lot of people don't do or aren't willing to do or don't see the value in doing, right? And that would be like, imagine if you never tracked your finances. You probably would be struggling with your finances. I'm guessing, right? So it's the same thing with this. I mean, if you're trying to lose weight, or if you're trying to maintain your weight, or if you're trying to gain weight, if you're trying to, like Deanna's situation there, then knowing your numbers is really important. And it's not to say that, hey, you're going to have to sit here and weigh and measure and log your food for the rest of your life, because you learn a lot, you build a lot of self-awareness through doing it, right? But you've got to have a period of time that you do it, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, however long. It's just that awareness that you build during that time, you then take that with you, right? Because right now, currently, I don't remember what is it, 2, 3, 4 months, something like that, since we stopped working together. So like currently right now, I mean, y'all aren't weighing and measuring and logging every single thing that you put into your mouth, right?
No.
But you learned a lot, you built a lot of awareness, and you've allowed to be able to kind of make that transition to be more intuitive with your nutrition. It's not to say you'll never have to use the tool again, right? But at least for right now, that's kind of the goal, is to be intuitive based off the awareness that you built during that 6 months.
Yeah, I think the other thing that helped was the whole consistency with all the different areas, the spreadsheet that we did every week. I
The habit tracker.
brought a whole lot of yes,
Yeah.
that brought a whole lot of awareness to us as far as drinking enough water, and how much are you walking, and are you getting enough sleep. I didn't, I know sleep is important to me anyway. It's an important thing, but didn't really think about how much we were sleeping. We were just, and so now, I mean, especially with my husband, Patrick has trouble with sleeping anyway. And so it's really brought a new awareness of that as well.
I know. So one of the things when we first met was, I think I told you that the two things I didn't want to do was weigh food and count calories. And you were like, yeah, that's exactly what we're going to be doing. And I really hated that idea. I'd never had to do it my whole life. I'd never had a weight problem my whole life until, fairly recently. And so that was a big challenge for me. And just the idea of not being able to eat whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted was a tough acceptance thing. Now, I had a lot of challenges coming into this too, because of some medical things going on with me that I wasn't able to do a whole lot of things. I was very lethargic as far as my work and as far as exercise goes. And you were able to teach us about, the calories and what they were and how to portion your plate. And when I look back now, I think weighing the food and actually seeing how much, 800 grams of fruit and vegetable is, and how much a piece of chicken actually weighs and what you're getting for it. That made a world of difference, just being able to see that. And now I really feel like we're at a point where, yeah, we can pretty much eyeball that now and know, without necessarily putting it on the scale, to know about what the calorie count's going to be, and adjust our portion sizes as necessary there.
Yeah, and that's such a valuable takeaway here. I mean, for the listeners, it's like, man, like imagine investing 6 months of your life, 6 months, right, to gain the awareness that then can help you to be successful for the rest of your life. Right. I mean, that's like invaluable there, right? And going back to Sharon's point with the habit tracker, I mean, the habit tracker is definitely easier to use than MyFitnessPal, right? Or easier than like weighing your food using MyFitnessPal. I mean, it takes 60 seconds or less to fill out there every day. But being able to have like the 10,000 foot view of how consistent you're actually being with all of these habits. Because I mean, it probably wasn't new to y'all to hear that sleep was important for your health, or that eating fruits and vegetables was important for your health, or anything. But it's like, most of us, we tell ourselves these things, we tell ourselves a false narrative in a sense, right? Sometimes. And so when you start to track that on something like a habit tracker, and you have that 10,000 foot view, now you're like, oh, wow, like I'm not as consistent with this as I thought I was. Right. And now you can start building that awareness, you can start taking action. And then before you know it, now this is something that's starting to become a habit, starting to become part of your lifestyle. And once you get to that place, now it's, the sky's the limit there, right? Because that's the foundation for success in so many different areas of life, because of the confidence that it brings you there. So I love that. I think those are huge takeaways from a body transformation. Or maybe let's do this. If y'all come back into like y'all's initial goals that y'all had when y'all first came to me, and then the results from a from a weight loss standpoint, body fat percentage standpoint, muscle gain standpoint, body composition change standpoint there, what were some of the accomplishments that y'all both made there?
I think both of us had a problem in the middle section, and wanted to reduce our abdominal area. And Patrick's went down really fast, and I noticed a big difference in mine too. But just kind of all over the body, I could see that we were losing inches. And I know I struggled with the whole exercise thing, because I love to walk, but really working with weights and things was a real struggle for me, because I've never really done that except with my little faith and fitness group that I meet with every week. We use weights while we're walking, but it's not the same as what you were encouraging me to do. I was really frustrated, I have to be honest, with a lot of the trying to work through the weekly thing. But once we started with the machines at the at our gym, that has made it so much easier because I don't have to think through every little thing that we're doing. I have something, I know the different areas I want to work on, and I'm getting some guns. So.
See it.
On my shoulders.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, and you're not alone.
And it's helping the core area too. So, which, I've noticed that's all a whole lot stronger than it was before. And I can press a lot with my legs, which I never knew I could.
That's awesome.
That comes from, also the walking, strengthening those muscles.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, those are all huge for the listeners. Sharon, how old are you and Patrick?
I'm 66.
I'm 60.
So, not, strength training, right? Not really being like a big thing in your life, and maybe not thinking, especially, now would be like the perfect time for you to start this journey. But here you are, and you've found a place where you're able to, go into a gym, which is a place that so many people are scared to go into, especially with, being a female going into, especially into the weight section, right? So these are all like fears that you had to overcome there, and so late in life there. And so it's like, that's such a huge accomplishment. I'd shared those two ladies with you, Susan and I'm blanking on the other one, but those were kind of like very inspirational type stories. But I mean, to chat with you now and now know that, hey, once we were able to get into a more simplified strength program with just being able to do machines and machines only, now you're consistently doing strength training 2 to 3 days a week, most weeks. And now that's something that not only is influencing your weight loss and, losing belly fat and the aesthetic goals, but it's also something that now long-term, I mean, this is helping to prevent osteoporosis. This is helping to prevent you from, like this is helping you to be able to, like I always say, get off the toilet by yourself when you're 90 years old, right? So, this is muscle, tendon, bone, ligament health that without doing strength training or resistance training is really, really hard to get those benefits. If walking is great and all, but it's like, you're not getting those benefits necessarily like you would there. So I think being able to incorporate that into your routine and, love it or not, just knowing like how beneficial it is for you, right? And what it can do for you, kind of like eating vegetables. I mean, let's be honest, most people aren't like, they don't love vegetables, but like, it's like when you become an adult, it's like you eat them because they're healthy for it and you need to eat them, so it's kind of the same thing with staying active and just living a healthy lifestyle, right? It's definitely kind of part of that there. So I love that. I mean, let that be an encouragement for anybody that's listening to the podcast right now in terms of like, it's never too late to start strength training. No different than when Susan came on the podcast and her kind of mantra there was, it's never too late to start, right? So it's something that is really important. It's no different than, I would honestly give the equivalent of like strength training would be the equivalent of, if you think brushing your teeth is important every day, right? And because you don't want to go to the dentist. And I mean, imagine not doing strength training for a year, right? The dystrophy that comes from that. And then imagine like not brushing your teeth for a year. Like what would your dentist say if you came to the dentist, you hadn't brushed your teeth in a year? Probably not be a good spot for you, right? So same thing with strength training. I mean, maybe it's a bit of an exaggeration, but this is our muscles and bones and tendons and ligaments and everything just kind of breaking down there with not prioritizing doing that strength training piece. So I'm excited. If you can't tell, I'm more excited than ever for you to be able to be on this journey and consistently be able to prioritize that in your life, because 5 years from now, like, I mean, you're going to be, I mean, you think you got some guns now, just wait.
I think
so Patrick, what about you, brother?
I think they're little pistols right now, but maybe they'll be really big guns later.
They get in there.
One day at a time, one workout at a time.
So with me, I deal with chronic pain. I have back issues, hip and knee issues, and I'm on medication for all that. So for me, exercise was like not going to happen really. And when we switched over to the machines, I found that there was enough support for my back with the the backrests and whatnot, that I was actually able to do some with my arms and my chest to get something out of it besides, 5 pounds here or there. And that's made a big difference in my life. Now, I'm not going to say that the pain levels have gone down, because I'm still talking with doctors for all that. But, I lost 25 pounds during our time together just without exercising, because I didn't really start exercising until we started going over those machines. The only thing I was really doing while we were together was walking. And that became a struggle with my knees at that point. So, to be able to go to the gym 3 times a week, mostly, and not only lift those weights on the machines, but increase the weight over time. I can feel it in my body. And like Sharon said, my gut kind of went down as I was losing weight, but now I see, I almost have a 6 or 8 pack like you got, Justin.
It's just a little buried right now.
It's still hidden some, but
Patrick, I'm hiring a new coach. I need that rapid transformation there. Yeah, I mean, man, it's just so great to hear. I mean, obviously, like, it's something that, we got into there, but to see y'all continuing doing it and making it a priority, I mean, now it's a time thing, right? I mean, the more consistent that you can be with your strength training and cardiovascular stuff is very important too. I mean, y'all walking and all that's very important too. Y'all doing the pool thing, that's very important too, right? But being able to have the strength training in 2-3 days a week there when it's not been in there for such a long period. I mean, y'all are just getting started with that, and all the benefits that I talk about all the time that come from it. I could probably list off 30, 50 things. Like, those are all going to start to come over the next 5-10 years of you doing that, right? So remember, I started strength training when I was in 7th grade football. So that means that I've been doing strength training for more than half of my life. And because of that, there's probably the biggest added benefits to it is it makes it so much easier to maintain a healthy body composition because you have more lean muscle mass. And you're also able to have way more wiggle room with your nutrition because you're able to eat more because you have more lean muscle mass. Right. So, I mean, the benefits that come from just finding 2 days a week to do strength training, at least, I mean, it starts to become a no-brainer kind of once you start to realize all of those things. So I'm proud of y'all for sticking with it and prioritizing it. I mean, I know that it might not be, the most exciting thing or like the, y'all's most favorite fun thing that you want to go do there. But again, it's kind of one of those things that the benefits that come from it, it makes it worth it, so.
What the biggest challenge is getting up and getting our gym clothes on and getting down there. Once we're there, it's great. But I think the biggest struggle is probably just getting out of the house to go down there. Once we get out of the house and we're down there, we're fine.
I hear you on that. The best hack I ever got from that, I think I actually stole this from Atomic Habits with James Clear, but if you basically think about all the tasks that you have from the time that you wake up to the time that you get to the gym, like how many tasks are in that? Like, I got to get dressed, I got to drive there. So now reduce those number of tasks down as much as possible. The biggest example I give is basically be in your workout clothes, ready to go, right? Like sleep in your workout clothes, right? To where it's literally like, wake up, put your shoes on, go. Right. Basically, just limit the number of steps that you have, essentially, right? To make it easier, right? Because the more steps that you have between getting from place A to B, the harder it is.
Yeah. So for us, it works better to do it in the evening. And everybody's different. And I think that's important too, to do what's best for your routine and to make it a routine, because for us early in the morning just doesn't work. So we go in the evenings, and after everybody else is the gym is kind of closed out a little bit, so we can get to the machines that we want to work on. Because if we go like right at 5 o'clock, everybody's there. So we go after dinner, and it just works for us. So you just have to figure out what works best for you to be consistent. And I think that's one of the words that kept coming up during the whole process when we were working with you, Justin, is consistency.
Mhm.
At least 80% of the time, be consistent with all the things that you're working on. And that, I think it's really, that's helped us to be more ready to do with the things that we need to do. Yeah, to be intentional, right?
It's definitely the hardest part of the whole journey, right? It's the part that matters most is consistency. Yeah, I mean, I think if you did probably a word audit on all the words that come out of my mouth through a 6-month coaching program, consistency is probably the word I say more than any other word, right?
Probably. Yeah.
Well, she does remember the 80-20 rule, because when we go off the diet thing, it's not really a diet. That's not a fair statement, or calorie monitoring program. When we go off of that, she reminds me that it's okay, we can be 80-20 is fine. So
Yeah, I mean, look, you gotta have a balance with it, right? Because I think, like, I mean, really the transition there, like we talked about before, is like, I mean, when you make that shift from being in a calorie deficit and trying to lose weight back to maintenance calories and trying to maintain weight, then you essentially now think about all those habits that come in line with eating at maintenance calories, right? The iCoach plate could be like the best example of that, right? And if you're trying to be intentional about building iCoach plates at the majority of meals that you're eating, not skipping meals, not going crazy and overeating, like, then you're going to be able to pretty much maintain and eat intuitively and eat at maintenance calories there if you're doing that. So yeah, I mean, I think that's where a lot of the intuitiveness comes in, right? Even once you remove weighing, measuring, and logging, you have the intuitiveness of all of the habits that have been instilled and put into place, and then you have the awareness from weighing food and be able to see kind of like what portion sizes look like and so on and so forth there. But yeah, I mean, look, Patrick, 25 pounds lost, with not really even being able to work out and having all those limitations, like essentially just doing and having all the sleep issues. So mainly just doing it through nutrition and hydration, mainly, right? I mean, that's honestly pretty insane in 6-month time period. There you go. Cheers.
Yeah.
Staying
It's water.
hydrated.
I tell you what, water was a big thing, because I wasn't drinking near enough water. And
I
now I'm
saw
still consistently drinking half my weight in ounces of water every day.
I mean, it plays a huge role in your hunger, right? And satiety, right? I mean, I can't tell you how many times myself or others think that they're hungry and really they're just dehydrated and thirsty, right?
That brings up another point too, Justin, with the whole iCoach plate and the fruits and vegetables I mean, we have them at every meal now. And I'm a carnivore. I eat meat and potatoes, man. I'm good to go. But I found that when I had the fruits and vegetables with all that, I was not hungry between meals, because I was terrible with snacking. I was always snacking on something. And now when I eat the right amount of stuff, the snacking just doesn't need to be there. The word you use is satiated. I feel full and comfortable with the amount of food that I'm eating.
Oh, it's a great point. I mean, there's so many people that struggle with snacking too much, late night snacking, cravings, junk food, sugar, whatever it may be there. And a lot of the times, the culprit of that, if you will, is the fact that they're, excuse me.
Have to edit that out.
Thank you. I know, right? Allergy season just hit me. I tell you what. No, but going back to that point, so many people think that they struggle with snacking or these late night cravings, sweets, whatever it may be. But the reality of it is that they're not actually eating meals, like balanced meals, right? An iCoach plate's a perfect example of that. Quarter of your plate being protein, quarter of your plate being carbohydrates, half of your plate being vegetables or fruits or a combination of both. And so that balance of proteins and fats and carbohydrates, that helps you to get enough protein. It helps you to get enough fiber to actually be satiated in between meals. And yeah, that's what you see so often, is that now all of a sudden you're snacking a whole lot less because you're actually eating adult meals, right?
And of course, you know, the snacks we were having was one of my favorites, like chips and salsa, which is probably one of the worst snacks you can have. So I don't hardly eat that anymore. So
I mean, chips and salsa, chips and queso, chips and guac. Don't get me wrong, I'm a diehard Mexican fan, so I love that food just as much as anybody else. But yeah, I mean, if you really think about the breakdown there with chips and salsa, right? I mean, it's carbohydrates, right, and sugars, and so yeah, it tastes good, but is that ever gonna really make you satiated? Probably not. I mean, you could eat the whole bag with salsa and still maybe not be satiated yet, right? Because the fiber intake is so low, the protein intake is so low.
Yep.
So
I agree.
I love it. Well, cool. Well, I guess I always like to ask this question because I don't know, it obviously plays a big role in people's decision-making process. So when we first did our discovery call together, right? And you were like, okay, this was, here's the coaching program, here's the investment. Like, talk me through a little bit in terms of the headspace, in terms of like why y'all chose to invest, a decent amount of money there into your health, right? This definitely wasn't like a $99 meal plan or anything like this. I mean, this was definitely a big investment in yourself. So how did y'all justify like that? Like, why did y'all pull the trigger on that? Why was that a decision that y'all made together?
I think we made it simply because we had tried everything we could possibly think of. We had, researched all kinds of different things, and everything we were trying to do wasn't working. And it got to a point where we were just ballooning in weight, and it was like no end in sight. I mean, a 6-foot person with my stature shouldn't be weighing 250 pounds at all. And in my opinion anyway, but when you're trying everything and nothing is helping, you got to find somebody that knows more than you. And so when we found out about you, we made the decision that we need to get educated on what we need to be doing for our health so that we can be around for a while. We don't want to hit the retirement button and die in 2 years like a lot of people do. We want to be around for our grandkids and kids, and we want to be able to travel and do things still. So I mean, that was important, and it was a big driving force in us wanting to get healthy and knowing that we just didn't have the answers.
Well, and a lot of programs out there, are so focused on diet, and we were looking more for nutrition and how that could change in our lives, because we, and our doctor recommended it. So, I mean, we thought that this would be something better than just trying to go on another diet.
And one of the things about your program is that it's not really a diet, because you tell us right from the beginning, you can eat whatever you want. Eat all your favorite foods. Just, this is how many calories you have a day, and, work it from there. And then if you just portion it the right way, then you'll be able to eat anything that you want. And honestly, we've been eating everything that we like to eat. We've never had to switch off to, like diet programs where, you can lose 30 pounds in a month or whatever, but like you always say, that weight will come back and more later, right? So we've learned the right way to eat so that we could eat the stuff that we like and still maintain our health. Man,
I love that. Those are some huge wins, some huge takeaways that yeah, I'm just super proud of both of y'all and everything that y'all been able to do here through that time, and what y'all are continuing to do. If you think about, as y'all are moving forward through the rest of your life, and you think about, I mentioned it kind of as that mason jar example of like the big rocks, right? And the things that really matter most. Could y'all kind of define for the listeners here, like what are those big rocks for y'all, and what are those what are those things that y'all plan to, you've been doing obviously, but what are the things that you continue to plan to prioritize as far as habits for the rest of your life there?
Well, I think, the consistency thing is very important. And just being aware of what you're putting into your body, how many calories that is, and what your goal is. Your goal is to feed your body with the strength it needs to be able to do the things that you want to do, and not to overdo it, and to be able to continue to hydrate ourselves, the way we should, with water and exercise, and just to be consistent with all those things. And what's been so important, I think, to us is the things that you've taught us to, and it took us weighing our food and looking at how many calories it was to begin with, to figure all that out. And so we can take that with us now. I mean, we don't have to be consistently weighing anymore, or until we get to the point where we want to lose more weight, and that's going to be another goal for me, because I've still got some of the belly I want to get rid of, but I think some of that's going to come with as we continue to exercise and do the strength training and things. So I think the biggest takeaway is just to be consistent with what you do.
I think as far as specific things, I think the iCoach plate is on our radar now, and we look at that even when we're eating out, so we can be consistent that way. And the water intake, I mean, that's been very consistent now for the whole time, so that's been a really good thing. And the exercise program, I think now that we kind of have a routine with that, and we're doing it, and we actually feel a difference in our body, I think that'll be something that just sticks with us.
I love it. I love it. If y'all think back, I probably should have asked this before my last question, but if you think, I'll circle back here. So we talked about a lot about the look, right? But in terms of the feel aspect, and you might have to take a second to kind of think about this, but if y'all both kind of reflect back to like before we started working together, in terms of how you felt, right? That could be confidence, that could be energy levels, that could be, pain and discomfort, knee pain, all that type of stuff. Just like how you felt when you wake up in the morning on a day-to-day basis throughout your day in comparison to how you feel now. Because I think that's a really, obviously, like, a lot of people that come to me, they have a weight loss goal, which, we kind of talked a lot about the aesthetic side of your goals here already. But if you think about like how you feel, right, that's obviously a huge part of this as well, right? Nobody, even if I sat here and lost 30 pounds, if you feel like crap, then you're not going to maintain that weight loss, right? So if you think about all the changes in terms of how y'all feel when it comes to energy levels and all those things I mentioned there, what were some of the most like distinct changes that you noticed?
So for me, I was always in a lot of pain, no matter what kind of movement I was making. And I was always exhausted, like consistently, utterly exhausted. And now, especially since the workouts have become much more consistent, I feel more energy. Now I still have problems with sleep, and my medications put me to sleep sometimes during the day, but I do have more energy to do things. I'm ready to go, and I'm able to do more as long as I'm careful and not increasing my pain levels. So I don't know if that answers your question fully, but one of the things we also did during our time was we went and we bought a new bed, which, our bed was about 8 or 9 years old when we joined you. And because of the pain levels that I have in my back and whatnot, we went and we bought one of those beds that, you know, you can lift the head and the feet up and kind of reposition, and it's kind of foam insulation in there. And that made a big difference in my sleep, so that I could sleep. And, you know, when I do get to sleep, I sleep through the night. Because when I was waking up, I would stand up from the bed and I could just feel everything just kind of settling and compressing, and I could feel every joint just hurting. And now I'm not feeling that.
Wow.
When I wake up, I don't have that compression sensation anymore. That's made a huge difference. Just getting a new bed made a huge difference.
That's awesome. I mean, anything you can do to get better quality and quantity sleep, right? Because we know that sleep affects all of the things that we're trying to work on there while we're awake, right? So that's awesome. Very cool. Well, man, I'm trying to think here. I think I might have covered it all. If y'all had any kind of final little nugget that y'all want to share with the listeners, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but is there any kind of final words or final pieces of advice? Or, you know, we're going into a new year, we're going into January here, right? And there are so many people out there that are going to go get the detoxes, cleanses, the diet of the week, blah, 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 blah. Maybe what's y'all's encouragement to everybody that might be thinking about doing something that is not going to be sustainable?
I'd say call Justin. You know, we didn't want to go to one of those places where it was focused just on being on a diet. We wanted to change our lifestyle and to make an impact on our bodies. So, you know, I know it has. It's changed the way we think, for one thing. It changed the way that we eat, and the way that we exercise, and just the way that we do life. It's really made a huge impact on our lifestyle, and hopefully it's a lifestyle that we can maintain for a long time, until we're not here anymore, until we get to go to heaven and not worry about our bodies anymore.
Well, hey, I mean, you know, maybe this is the question for you. I mean, do you currently, where you're at right now, I mean, even after graduating the program, a few months out of the program, like, I think I probably asked you, you know, the question when you did graduate, that's probably the only reason why y'all graduated, right? But if you think about, and you know, that question, right? Can I do what I'm doing here for the rest of my life? Like, can I live, you know, this definition of a healthy lifestyle for the rest of my life, the majority of the time there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So
can.
I think that's the answer to the previous question, right? Like with anything that, for the listeners, anything that you're thinking about doing, right? That's got to be kind of the question that you ask yourself. Like, can I do this for the rest of my life, right? And there might be little things like, you know, filling out my fitness power habit tracker or whatever that, yes, obviously you're not going to do for the rest of your life, but are the habits that you're trying to build into your life, are those things that are sustainable? Are those things that you're going to want to do for the rest of your life because you know what those things do for you, right? And then they start to become like superpowers. It's like, you know, you start to think, I always say, like, most people don't know how good they can feel until they actually start feeling that way. And you start doing these things and you do these things consistently for long enough and you start reaping those benefits, then it's like, why would I ever want to go back to being in pain or, you know, having crappy energy or, you know, feeling like I just have no control of my body, I keep gaining all this weight. Like, you know, it's like, you don't know how good you can feel until you start feeling that way. So
I feel so much better about my body. I mean, you know, it's never going to be perfect, but it feels so much better than it did before we started.
I think if I had the last thing to say to somebody, it would be, don't worry about diet programs that are going to help you lose a bunch of weight real quick. Rather learn the importance of nutrition in the food you eat and the hydration your body needs, and I guess the sleep they need, because that will last. The other won't.
100%. I love it. Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. I'm always proud of my iCoach University graduates here, especially when I'm able to, follow up with y'all later and still see y'all doing really, really well. So I'm excited for the future. I mean, this is just the beginning, right? I mean, y'all aren't even a full year into your new improved lifestyle, if you will, right? So I'm excited for y'all, literally 5 years from now, 5 years of doing strength training 2 to 3 days a week. I mean, just like with the nutrition and all that stuff coupled, just wait. I mean, it's literally just a matter of time. So
I'll check back in with you when I'm 70.
there you go. There you go. I love it. Well, awesome. Well, guys, once again, thank you so much for taking the time. And I really hope that the listeners here got a lot out of this interview and that they can kind of apply some of these things into their life as they're entering the new year with all the things coming their way in terms of all the diet fads and cleanses and whatever else. So again, thank you so much for taking the time. And until next time.
All right. Thanks, Joseph.
Thank you.